Hey everyone, I want to share a quick part of my story that will make you sit up and wonder what happens next. Imagine working at the same place for almost 2 decades and then, one morning, you are told to leave forever. That is exactly what happened to me. But I already knew something big before they did. If you like this little teaser, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Oh, and don't subscribe to the YouTube channel for more revenge stories like this. Meet Jenna Brooks. She grew up in Maple Glade Estates. Over 30 years, she built her life around trust and hard work. Jenna first walked through the glass doors of Eagle Tech Solutions when she was fresh out of college. She was excited, wide-eyed, and knew almost nothing about computers. But she had a clever mind and learned fast. By the time she hit her third year, she could solve tricky network problems that had stumped her team. In her sixth year, Jenna managed a small group of 5 people. They fixed printers, set up new phones, and helped clients from big banks to little bookstores. Each time she helped someone, her boss would smile and say, "Good job, Jenna." She loved that feeling. She felt seen and useful. Then came the highs. In year 9, the company won a huge contract. They needed help setting up servers for a chain of grocery stores. Jenna led the team that laid out 120 new machines in one weekend. Her boss gave her a raise of $10,000 and a gold-plated plaque that read, "Excellence in Service." She beamed when she held that plaque. But she learned early that work is never all bright days. In year 11, her best friend at work, Carla, started whispering behind Jenna's back. Carla said Jenna was getting too big for her boots, that she thought she was better than the rest of the team. Jenna felt crushed. She and Carla had shared lunches, jokes, and secret giggles by the coffee machine. When Carla stopped smiling at her, Jenna's heart dropped. She did not understand why Carla turned so cold. The low times felt lonely, but Jenna never gave up. She reminded herself that kindness matters. She always helped new hires learn the ropes. She stayed late to teach them how to unjam a copier or fix the office router. Even when Carla slid notes under her desk, complaining, Jenna got all the praise. Jenna smiled and kept helping. Year 13 brought more trouble. A new manager named Greg arrived. He had sharp eyebrows and a voice that sounded like thunder. Greg changed things. He moved desks, reassigned tasks, and asked Jenna to teach his favorite nephew how to reboot modems. The nephew seemed rude. He pressed buttons without asking and snapped, "What's taking so long?" Jenna held her patience and gave clear answers. She did not let his attitude break her calm. Still, Jenna did not complain to others. She knew that showing anger would hurt her reputation. She saved her energy for doing good work, and she made secret notes of every odd thing Greg said or did. She kept copies of emails where he asked her to give him weekend help and then told others she never did any extra work. In year 15, the office moved to a new building in Maple Glade Estates, a place nobody had heard of before. The halls were shiny, the lights bright, and the ceilings tall. She loved the new break room with its juice bar and comfy chairs. But Greg changed the code for the door locks every month and never told Jenna on time. So she often found herself locked out and buzzing at the security desk. Every time she explained it politely, the guard rolled his eyes. Jenna kept calm but wrote down the time, date, and guard's name each time. Then the big project hit in year 16. Eagle Tech Solutions won a deal for a big bank that needed 500 new workstations by next spring. Jenna led a team of 10. They worked night and day. She planned, tested, installed, and trained. She logged each broken cable, each misplaced drive, and each success. Soon, upper management praised Jenna in front of the whole company. But Greg once again took credit in his report and gave Jenna a small pat on the back. Jenna felt proud, but also a sharp sting of unfairness. She kept her head down. She smiled at her team and offered extra coffee and donuts when the nights got long. Then came the lesson she would never forget. One rainy Tuesday, she found a handwritten note on her keyboard. It said, "You will regret being so perfect." No signature. No clue who wrote it. Her heart raced. She looked around at the silent desks, the gray sky through the window. She clutched the note, wondering if she had done something wrong. The next day, she saw that someone had scratched her name into a chair back. Jenna Brooks is a show OFF. She sat there, stunned. A tight knot formed in her chest. But still she did not heave a sigh. Instead, she wrote in her journal, "I will let my work speak for me." A soft victory came when her team's project finished a week early. Management sent lunch pizzas for everyone. That day, the office smelled of melted cheese and warm bread. Jenna laughed when a coworker dropped a slice on their shoe. She helped them clean it up and handed them a napkin with a smile. But any calm can shift in a moment. That calm broke on year 17, month 4, day 15. Jenna sat at her desk. She double-checked the network logs for a minor glitch. Her phone buzzed with a message, "Conference room in 5." It was from Greg. She straightened her blouse and walked down the shiny hall. She pushed the door open. The room was empty except for her boss, Mr. Wallace, standing by his big oak desk. His face was unreadable. Jenna's stomach tightened. She closed the door. "Jenna," he said in a low voice, "please sit." She did. He did not smile. He did not thank her for anything. He slid a thick envelope across the desk. Jenna's name was stamped on it. Her pulse jumped. "I'm sorry," he said, "but effective today we are letting you go. You will get a severance package." Jenna's mouth went dry. She blinked. She stared at Mr. Wallace. "Letting me go," she whispered. "No warning," he said softly. "It's company policy." Jenna's heart pounded like a drum. She picked up the envelope. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a letter that said she would get $5,000 for every year she worked and health coverage until the end of the month. Nothing more. She rose slowly. The chair scraped the floor. She looked at Mr. Wallace. His eyes were calm. "Thank you," she managed. She walked out with her box of personal things. Her mug, her little plant, her stack of journals. Every step echoed. She walked past the break room. The juice bar was lively, but no one stopped to say hi. The halls were bright, but she felt a shadow inside her. Outside the building, rain had washed the pavement clean. She stood under the awning. The gray sky dripped like a silent witness. She remembered the note that warned her she would regret being perfect. Now she regretted nothing. And there in that moment, something inside Jenna shifted. She had known more than they thought. She had saved copies of every note. She had backed up every email. She had something they did not yet know. The rain fell on her hair. She opened her journal and wrote one last line for now. "They think they got me." Jenna stepped off the curb into the pouring rain. Her heart still hammered from the moment Mr. Wallace had told her she was fired after 17 years with no warning. She held her little journal tight. Inside were copies of every strange note, every locked-out incident, every unfair email. She knew they thought they had silenced her, but she carried proof of their mistakes. She walked down Elmwood Avenue, past closed shops with their lights off. The wind tugged at her umbrella. "They think they got me," she whispered again, as if the wind could carry her words back to Eagle Tech Solutions. She had a plan brewing in her mind, simple but powerful. Jenna found a small cafe that stayed open late. It was called Willow Bend Cafe, quiet and friendly. She shook off her umbrella at a corner table. A barista named Olivia brought her a warm cup of tea without asking. Olivia had worked there for years and knew Jenna by name. "Long night?" Olivia asked, setting the cup down with a soft clink. Jenna forced a small smile. "You could say that." She lifted the cup to her lips and let the steam fog her glasses. Olivia sat down across from her. "You okay?" Jenna took a deep breath. "No, not okay, but I have proof." She slid her journal onto the table. Olivia's eyes widened at the neat stack of papers. "Proof of what?" Olivia asked in a low voice. That they fired me unfairly, Jenna said. I took photos of every nasty note, every locked-out sign. I even backed up all the emails where Greg took credit or blamed me for things I didn't do. Olivia reached across and squeezed Jenna's hand. You're smart to keep all that. What will you do now? Jenna sipped her tea. First, I need help organizing it. Then I'll decide if I take legal action. Or maybe I just let them face what they did to me in public. Either way, they didn't see this coming. For the next 2 hours, Jenna and Olivia sorted through the pages. They labeled each one: threat note, locked out record, email credit theft, Greg's lies. By the end, the table was covered in papers, but Jenna felt a weight lifting. She had a story to tell. The cafe lights dimmed. Olivia yawned. We're closing soon, she said quietly. Jenna closed her journal. Thank you. You're the best friend I have in Maple Glade Estates. Olivia smiled. Anytime. Jenna folded the papers neatly and put them in a manila envelope. She tucked it inside her coat pocket. She paid for her tea and stepped back into the night. The rain had slowed. The street lamps glowed orange on the wet pavement. She decided to stop by her friend Derek's house. Derek was a local reporter at the Maple County Gazette. He was known for telling the truth and standing up for people who could not fight alone. Jenna hoped he might help her share her side of the story. Derek opened his door with a surprised look. Jenna, it's midnight. What's wrong? She explained everything in under 5 minutes. The unfair firing, the strange notes, the stolen credit, the locked-out humiliations. Derek's face grew serious. That's a lot, he said. And you have it all written down. Jenna nodded and gave him the manila envelope. Derek took it carefully. I'll read this and see how to proceed. You should rest. You look exhausted. Jenna sank onto his couch. It felt good to have told someone. She smiled at Derek. Thanks for listening. I'll check your email tomorrow. She left Derek's at 1 a.m., the sky almost clear now. A lone owl hooted in a nearby tree. Jenna felt tired but hopeful. She walked home slowly, thinking of the future. The next morning, she woke early, her coat still hanging by the door, her mind racing. She made oatmeal for breakfast and reviewed her plan. First, get legal advice. Second, talk to Derek about publishing an article. Third, prepare her own statement if needed. She called a lawyer's office in town. The receptionist said there was an opening later that afternoon. Jenna booked the appointment. Then she emailed Derek. Hope to meet soon about my story. The rest of the morning passed in small, less dramatic moments. She watered her plant, fed her cat Whiskers, took a short walk around Maple Glade Estates Park. Sunlight warmed her face. It felt strange to enjoy a peaceful day after the storm of yesterday. By early afternoon, she arrived at the law office. A paralegal named Carlos led her to a small conference room. Jenna handed over a copy of her journal pages and explained the timeline. Carlos listened carefully, nodding at each point. You have strong evidence here, he said. We can file a wrongful termination claim. But first, we need to notify your former employer. That will trigger back and forth negotiations. Jenna's pulse quickened. How long will that take? Carlos shrugged. Could be weeks or months. But they'll take you more seriously if they know you have a lawyer. Jenna felt a mix of relief and nervousness. She paid the consultation fee and left with a new folder labeled Legal. On her way out, she noticed a mail slot with a shiny key taped beside it. The slot led to a small storage room that once held old office supplies. She remembered how Greg had changed that lock every month. Now someone had taped the key there. Her breath caught. She stared at it for a moment. Did someone from Eagle Tech want someone to find this key? Was it a trap? Or a clue? Her phone buzzed. It was Derek. Got your files. I want to meet tomorrow morning. Big story here. Jenna looked back at the mail slot key. Her mind spun. She pocketed her phone and walked on, but the image of that key stayed with her. That key could open the door to the old storage room. Inside might be hidden logs or backups Greg thought he destroyed. It might hold the final piece of proof she needed. Jenna kept moving down Main Street, but her steps slowed. What if someone followed her? What if Greg knew she had that journal and wanted to stop her? A cold shiver ran down her spine despite the warm afternoon sun. She forced her legs to move faster, crossed at the light, and nearly stepped on a skateboard lying in the middle of the road. She jumped back just in time. The skateboard rolled past her, clattering across the pavement. Jenna looked back. No one was near. She exhaled. Even a simple skateboard could feel like danger when your mind is racing. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Stop digging, or you'll regret it." Jenna's hand shook. Her eyes widened. She stared at the phone. Then she remembered the key taped to the mail slot. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "They're watching." She wrapped her coat tighter and kept walking, the envelope of evidence safe in her pocket. But now she knew the fight would not be easy. And as Jenna turned the corner, a black SUV rolled slowly down the street, its windows tinted dark. Its engine idled quietly. Jenna did not see it stop, but she felt its presence. Jenna walked faster, her heart thumping hard. The black SUV followed her every turn. Its engine purred like a big cat ready to pounce. She ducked behind a lamppost and peered around. The SUV rolled past, its dark windows hiding whoever sat inside. Jenna swallowed. She knew they watched her now. She turned into the entrance of the small storage building behind Eagle Tekka's old office. No one ever came here anymore. The key taped to the mail slot felt heavy in her pocket. She pressed herself against the wall and waited until she heard the SUV's tires crinkle away. Then she slipped through a side door and bolted it behind her. Inside was a narrow hallway lit by a single bulb. Boxes of old monitors, keyboards, and dusty cables lined the walls. Jenna's flashlight beam danced across labels. Unused, broken, sale. She held the key in her trembling hand. Her breath came quick and loud in the silent room. She found the locked door at the end of the hallway. Her fingers shook as she fitted the key. It clicked and turned. The lock let out a soft click that felt as loud as a gunshot in the quiet. Jenna pushed the door open. Inside was an old server rack covered by a gray tarp. She pulled the tarp away. Underneath were 3 old hard drives and a small pile of printed network logs. Jenna's eyes widened. This was exactly what she needed. The logs showed every time Greg had changed settings or blamed network issues on her. The hard drives might hold email backups or deleted files. She lifted the largest drive and felt its weight. It was warm still, as if someone had used it recently. Her mind raced. If she could decrypt it, she would prove beyond doubt that Greg had sabotaged her work and stolen credit. She tucked the drives under her coat and grabbed the papers. Then she froze. A light flicked on behind her. It shone bright and yellow right in her face. Jenna turned and saw a security camera mounted in the corner of the room. A tiny red light blinked on its lens. She realized the key and the unlocked door had been a trap. Someone wanted her to find the evidence and get caught. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She backed toward the door, but she tripped on a cable. The papers flew out of her jacket and spread across the dusty floor. The camera lens swiveled, tracking her every move. Jenna sucked in a breath. She had to leave before someone came to see why the alarm hadn't gone off. She sprinted down the hallway and burst through the side door. Outside, the night air felt cool and free. She tucked the drives inside her coat and scooped up the logs. Her legs pumped as she ran back toward Elmwood Avenue. When she reached Willow Bend Cafe, its windows glowed with soft light. She hurried inside and slid into a booth. Olivia stood behind the counter, polishing glasses. She blinked when she saw Jenna, panting and wild-eyed. "You look like you saw a ghost," Olivia said, setting down a mug of hot chocolate. Jenna clutched the mug with both hands. She forced her breath to calm. I found something, she said, but there's a camera in the room. I think someone wanted me to get caught. Olivia's eyes widened. Do you have the papers? Jenna opened her coat and pulled out the network logs. And these, she said, handing over the 2 hard drives. We need to hide them somewhere safe. Olivia scanned the papers and then nodded. Meet me tomorrow at Derek's office. We'll figure out how to copy these safely. Jenna sipped her hot chocolate as the warmth spread through her chest. For a moment, everything felt okay again. She looked at Olivia with gratitude. Thank you, she whispered. The next morning, Jenna arrived at Derek's office before dawn. The air smelled of dew and fresh grass. Maple Glade Estates Park was empty, and birds chirped high in the trees. She carried a small backpack with the hard drives and papers. Derek unlocked his office door and let her in. You look tired, he said, pointing to a chair. Jenna set her bag on the table. I only slept 2 hours. She rubbed her eyes. But I wanted to get these to you before anyone else can find them. Derek laid the papers out and stared at the network logs. These show Greg blamed every glitch on you, he said. And this line here says he deleted backups of your files. He tapped a printed row in the log. He did it on the night you fixed the server issue last month. Jenna nodded. He wanted me to look guilty if something went wrong. And now he framed me by leaving that key and camera. Derek stood and flicked on his computer. He plugged in one hard drive with a USB adapter. The drive hummed. A window popped up, showing encrypted folders. Derek frowned. These are locked tight. We need a password. Jenna bit her lip. I don't know his password. He always used something like Greg 1982. Derek typed in a few guesses while Jenna watched the logs on the other drive pop open. They saw scans of deleted emails, old project plans, and backup scripts. Derek clicked on a folder labeled Old Backups. He gasped. There are your old files here. Every report you ever wrote. Every plan you submitted. I thought he wiped them all, Jenna whispered. He kept copies, Derek said. Maybe so he could steal your work later. They looked at each other. They had everything they needed. But without the password for the main drive, some files would remain hidden. And they knew Greg would double back soon if he realized she had taken the hard drives. Jenna's phone buzzed. It was a text from Derek's own number. Change of plan. I'm locked out of my account. Help. Jenna's stomach twisted. What? Derek tried calling his phone again, but it went straight to voicemail. He punched his desk. Someone just locked me out of my computer, and my email is down. Jenna's pulse raced. That's him. He found out. Derek grabbed his coat. We need to move. Now. They stuffed the drives and papers back into Jenna's backpack. Jenna grabbed her coat and led the way out. They slipped through the back door and into the alley behind the building. Rain began to fall, light at first, then in heavy drops. They ran toward Jenna's car parked on Oak Trail Drive in Silverbrook Ridge. The street lamps cast long shadows. Every dark corner looked like a place someone could jump out. Jenna's hands shook as she fumbled with her key. Derek nudged her. Hurry. She pressed the remote. The car clicked unlocked. They dove inside and slammed the doors. Jenna locked them and glanced in the rearview mirror. But the street was empty. No black SUV. No headlights. Derek exhaled loudly. That was too close. Jenna tapped her fingers on the steering wheel. We have to find Greg's password, or he'll erase everything. Derek opened the glove box and pulled out a map of the city. I know someone who might help. A friend who works in tech security. He owes me a favor. We can meet him at his workshop in Silverbrook Ridge this afternoon. Jenna nodded. She turned the key in the ignition, and the engine roared to life. Let's go. They drove in silence, the rain pattering on the windshield. Every so often, Jenna looked back, expecting to see the black SUV behind them, but there was only the empty street and the blur of wet trees. Then Derek's phone rang. He answered with a sharp hello. His face went pale. What? He slammed the phone shut. Jenna touched his arm. What happened? Derek shook his head. They just cut power to the workshop. No lights, no computers. They're shutting everyone Gordon works with out of the system. Gordon was the security expert. If his workshop lost power, it meant someone at the utility company or the power grid was in on this. Jenna looked at the dark city skyline through the wet glass. They are everywhere, she whispered. Derek stared at the road. We can't go back to his place, he said. We need a safe spot. Jenna thought of her small cabin in Silverbrook Ridge Woods. It was off the grid with its own solar panels and a wood stove. She drove there without speaking. The rain turned to mist as they turned onto the narrow dirt road. They reached the cabin as the sky turned dark gray. Jenna climbed out and unlocked the heavy wooden door. Inside, it was warm and smelled of pine. She lit a lamp on the table. The soft light chased away the shadows. Derek pulled out the backpack and set it down. We need to open those drives, he said. Gordon's not here, so we have to try ourselves. Jenna frowned. I'm not a hacker. Derek smiled. Me neither, but sometimes a good guess works. He pulled out a set of old computer cables from the shelf and set up his laptop. He plugged in the first drive. It hummed. He typed a list of likely passwords. Each one failed. Then he paused. Wait, he said. Remember that plaque they gave you in year 9? It had a date on it. Jenna's eyes lit up. June 142010. Derek typed June 142010 as the password. The drive unlocked. Folders appeared. He clicked on passwords.txt, and a list of codes popped up. There was a password for every drive. Jenna let out a breath. You did it. Derek copied the codes to a text file. Then he plugged in the second drive and used the new password. It opened. They saw emails, spreadsheets, and audio recordings. One file was labeled gregconfession.mp3. Derek played it. Greg's voice crackled through the speakers. I deleted her backups, he said. But if Jenna ever gets fired and shows up in the storage room, the camera will catch her. I'll have proof she stole the drives. Jenna's blood ran cold. He planned every step. Derek nodded. But now we have his words on tape. Jenna felt a rush of triumph. For the first time in days, she smiled. She turned to Derek. Let's get this to the Gazette. They packed up the drives and text files onto a secure USB. Jenna closed her eyes and breathed in the pine air. For a moment, she felt safe. Then the cabin door slammed behind them with a loud bang. Jenna and Derek spun around. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. Jenna's heart froze. Whoever followed them found the cabin.